So the project we're going to talk about today is the inverter install that I've done. So I've chosen to upgrade the 2000 watt inverter that came with the Pleasureway to a combination inverter charger. It's a couple reasons for that. The charger that comes with the Pleasureway isn't compatible with the Lithionics batteries that I installed. And actually one of the ones that they recommend is a Xantrex inverter charger that can be programmed to be compatible with the charge profile of the Lithionics. So I thought that was a good choice. And while I was upgrading, I took a look at both the 2000 and the 3000 watt versions of it, and they're physically the same size. And I don't know, I've mentioned maybe once or twice in the videos that I've had problems with the microwave. Not a problem, but it's kind of an annoyance that sometimes I'll start the microwave and it'll just shut back down. And I wasn't sure if that was the battery, because the surge current, the battery was interrupting the cycle, or the inverter, the 2000 watt inverter was. So one of the reasons I decided to sort of upgrade to the 3000 watt is to see if I could correct that behavior. But then probably the bigger reason is that once I run an air conditioner and I'm running more electrical appliances within the van, I wanted something above 2000 watts to handle, so I can run more than just the air conditioner simultaneously. So 3000 watt became a very good choice for me. Another benefit of the 3000 watt is that it comes with a 150 amp hour charger. The 2000 watt only comes with a 100 amp charger. So with the amount of battery that I have, I wanted to get the highest level of charge current that I could out of the charger that I chose. So I've gone ahead and installed the 3000 watt inverter charger from Xantrex. And another benefit of going with Xantrex is I took a look at a number of different inverters that would potentially fit within the cabinet space that we have, but there's a wire that's run for the remote control panel for the Xantrex already in the van. So I figure I'd be able to just use that wire for the new controller for the new Xantrex, as they have the same cabling. So you might know I've already installed the inverter. I've been using it. It's fantastic. I've took some video of the install, especially when I had to disassemble the ottoman. So I've got some B-roll that I'm gonna cut to here, and just to kind of show you the initial stages of the install. I had to cut the install short because I had to take a trip, and I needed the inverter in place. So I kind of wrapped it up quickly without filming. But I'll cut back in after this next segment where I show the sort of preparatory stages for the install, and kind of give you a view of the final install, and talk through kind of what was done. So here we go. Okay, so I'm opening up the area with this to get the inverter out, and basically I've taken this board out. There's 3 screws on this side that have to come out, and then there were 2 brackets, one on each end, that lifted this out. And then I removed 2 screws, one here and one here, just to loosen this inverter out so I can lift it up. But there's a challenge here that the AC wires are long enough where I can pull this out and disconnect the AC here, and I can get to the negative power, the DC power terminal here. But the positive DC is this really heavy 4/0 gauge cable. It's all the way down the bottom there, and it's too short. So I can lift this up part way, but I can't get it out enough to get to the positive lead to unbolt it on the bottom side. So I'm left with what I really need to do is get this panel out, or what I'm thinking is get the panel out. So what I did was I took a screw out of here to loosen this up, and it looks like down here
there's a block of wood that sandwiches this panel with this carpeted area. Well, once I did that, there are no other screws I can find. This won't pull out, doesn't budge. So I contacted Pleasureway. I mean, there's no way. It's like you can't tell what's in here, how it's attached. There's no exterior screws. Pleasureway said there's probably screws underneath the carpet here. Well, so they told me I had to pull the carpet out. And in doing that, what I discovered is if you pull hard enough, so I basically got the carpet up here. If you pull hard enough, watch what happens. This whole thing moves. This is a tray that will come out. I can lift it up by the carpeting. You can see it move. So it looks like all I have to do is take this off, and I'll be able to pull this out and gain access to everything underneath this ottoman, which is really great news. Because then I'll be able to get access to the cable chase that's in here, underneath here, goes all the way underneath here into the back. So I'll be able to clean up this wiring. And also, one of the other tasks that I'd really like to do is to upgrade this wiring. So I'll be able to pull new AC wires basically in through the back over to the AC panel. And the reason I want to do that is that this is 12 gauge wire, which is good for 20 amps. And if I pull 10 gauge wire through, I'll be able to get a full 30 amps out of it. So that would mean I'd be able to put in the 3,000 watt inverter and actually use all the power. Previously I was thinking 3,000 watt, but I would only use it to 20 amps because of this wire is fed through a 20 amp breaker, so you're limited to 20 amp use on this line. But if I can get in, upgrade the wire, that gives me a little bit more headroom on the power. So I'm gonna take this. This is my cigarette lighter adapter plug that I put in. I'll take that out, see if I can lift up the panel and see what it looks like. Okay, well, it certainly was not as easy as I had anticipated it being, but I've got the tray up and out. It apparently was not attached at all with screws, so I was able to just lift it off. It just sits on these wood blocks. But what's interesting now about this area is here's the cable chase that I mentioned, so I can run cables from here all the way back. Also, here's the diesel heater power cable that I had installed because I wasn't able to access this area. I didn't know how to access this area before. But now you can kind of see right here is all the plumbing access into the kitchen. So I'll be able to take this wire then, relocate it through here and right through this cable chase all the way in the back, and that'll eliminate this wire altogether. So that's going to clean that up quite a bit. So that's excellent. The other thing is, here's the 4-aught DC and ground cables down here, right in here. So those I'm going to be taking off their cable clamps in the back. So I'm going to be able to pull this red wire out, give myself a little bit of slack. But it just strikes me that very strange that they would build it this way, where this red wire is so short going to the bottom lug here. You really can't take this inverter out without probably getting more slack on the cable from the rear, pushing it forward so you can pull that inverter out. So the new inverter that I'm going to be putting in, the DC cable actually has to come almost all the way up the top here. So I'm going to need more slack anyway. So I'll just pull that through from the back. I have too much length on that cable anyway, so it's going to work out very well. All right, so next, I guess next steps for the inverter project is going to be to loosen the cables in the back, pull some of this out so I can then lift this out of here, and then I can get busy mounting the new inverter against this wall. So I'm gonna get started with that. This is the final product of the install that I did for the 3000 watt inverter. You can see the 3000 watt inverter is significantly larger than the 2000 watt inverter that was here. And actually this is the same size as the new 2000 watts. So yeah, either way you go, if you go 2000 or 3000, this is what the install is going to look like. So I've got it screwed into this backing board here, and a little brace here to give it a space. The cooling fans are here, and the vent that is right here going out into the main room. So it gets decent airflow here through this vent. So in order to make this fit, the 3000 watt inverter actually is taller than this opening because of these two flanges, this side and the other side underneath, that stick out. There's also a pipe that runs, it's a drain pipe for the plumbing that goes underneath this cabinet and then down out through the floor. So I had to take a Dremel tool and a cutting wheel, and I basically cut half of this off to be able to fit it to this level, and then underneath I notched it out where that pipe came through, so this would sit down low enough to fit within this cabinet. So it was a little bit of work, not very difficult. The other thing I did, since this is a 3000 watt inverter, is you can see down here these orange wires down here. The 2000 watt inverter had a yellow AC cable. So the yellow is actually a 12 gauge wire. So I increased the wire size to a 10 gauge to be able to handle 30 amps. So I could run the full 3000 watts of this inverter. I think more importantly, it makes it safe then to run the 150 amp charger. So that's a critical piece. If you're going to upgrade, you need to upgrade the wires as well. Fortunately, Pleasureway already had 4-aught cable for the DC power line, so I didn't have to upgrade that, just the AC wires to handle the current of this system. So when I went to install it, I think I mentioned in the earlier video that this red power line that Pleasureway put in was very short. It was very difficult to get the original 2000 watt inverter out of there, and I actually had to remove this board to do that. And in the previous video I showed that when you take this up, it's just sitting on blocks, this board here. It exposed some brackets down below that you just had to unscrew, and this popped out. So that's critical to get to the red wire so you can remove the 2000 watt inverter. The other problem I had was that I wasn't able to pull the cable through like I had planned. So no matter what I did, I couldn't feed it through. It's kind of pinched behind the sofa in the back, so I probably would have had to take the sofa out in order to get enough leverage or you know, kind of angle on the wire to pull it through. So instead of doing that, in here I put in underneath here I put in a new bus bar. So I took a 600 amp hour Blue Seas bus bar and took the short cable, connected to that, and I made a longer cable that you see here for the positive that would reach from that bus bar up to here. So it's an additional bus bar underneath there that just it's really just to extend this DC wire so it could reach all the way up, because the DC cable on the inverter is up on the top of this this inverter.
So I think that's the most difficult element of this install. Actually, the two wiring pieces are just extending this 12-volt DC cable, and then swapping out the AC cord to a higher gauge, a 10 gauge wire to handle the 30 amps. So I think it came out really well. I mean, it definitely works extremely well. So it definitely it solved my microwave problem, and it runs. I can run the air conditioner, and I can run even a hot pot that can make coffee while I'm sitting here cool in the van on a hot night. So that's pretty much the install. At some future date, when I may open this up again, I'll give a better detailed view of the actual install. But it's pretty simple once you realize there's a bus bar underneath there and to extend the DC cable. So that's it. I'm looking now where I'm going to mount the control panel for the new Xantrex. So this is where the old one was. So my first thought was put it here. I took this out, and yeah, I could potentially just open up this opening, stick it here. The challenge is that put this on the back. I'm gonna have to cut into, it's just a little bit too wide to fit in here. I'd have to cut into this molding here, and I don't know how thick that wood is. I don't know if the opening will interfere with the rear wall of the cabinet. So it's looking to me like that's going to be a difficult thing to fit in. So I looked at where else I could put it, and what I did was I came inside here, and there's a cable area in here where everything is wired in for the panels. So I could just put it here, and unfortunately it won't fit this way, but it will fit this way. And I'm thinking that's probably a really good way to do it. If we can, I've already taken the screws out of here. Let me just take and pull this cabinet out. It's a really tight fit. There we go. So pull that out, and you can see that there's plywood in here. There's a little bus bar, and I think this is the cable I've got stuck up in here. Oh no, that's the other cable. You find, yeah, here's the cable for the Xantrex. It's right in here. So instead of modifying this thing, what I did was I traced it and cut a whole new one in case I ever want to move this and replace the white back. So I just cut an 1/8 inch plywood, traced it out, made a cutout for the meter, and now what I can do is I can just stick this up here, just like that, and then this will fit right in here. So I'll open the door, and there will be my control panel. So let's get that mounted, and what I'll probably do is just finish this wood a little bit, just so that it doesn't warp or take on any moisture. Then I'll clean it up a bit. So let's get that mounted up. Right, got our panel all mounted. We just need to fish out the little jack. Plug that in. Tuck away. And there we go.
Just take the screws that we've had in here and pop it in. Just reusing the same screws that Pleasureway put in. Just re-drilled and countersunk it just the same way. So we're good to go. So this way it keeps it nice and neat in here. Doors closed, you'll never see it. Easy to access, easy to read here. So the other thing I did is I just put the other controller back in for now. So you can kind of see, I just put this back in, cover the hole. I'll probably look for a nice little plaque, something put here, just something decorative, because I want to reuse this inverter, probably in a little home backup system. So that's it. That's how I've installed my 3000 watt inverter. If anyone is wondering, what am I going to do about cooking on electric? Well, I've got this small induction cooktop that I bought, and this is where I store it. So whenever I go to cook, I'll just pull out that induction cooktop, put it on top of the propane stove, and just cook from there. Actually, I can move that outside. I can use it on an extension. It's great just not to have an open flame cooking while in the van.